stay, undress the lights. Give me a reason, open my eyes. Let me know it's here and now. Chase me down, explain me how. Break me out, I'm not alone. You make me alive. Bring me the peace I seek inside. Take out the dirt I try to hide. Thrill me tonight, bring me a smile. Promise me land, promise me skies, through the tide. Break me out, I'm not alone. You make me alive.
Hello everybody, Dave Paling here and welcome to my race footage of the Formula Sim Racing Pro Division Round 13 from Suzuka. I also want to say thank you to Seum, Dero and Kajaz for their track Alive there, and also Seum, Dero for this track Stories. You've seen that I'm on a qualifying lap at the moment. However, at Suzuka I went for a different strategy. I went for 2 flying laps back to back. So we'll get on to the fastest lap of the session now. Although here at Suzuka had some very odd goings on with the car. In practice the car felt absolutely brilliant, and then coming into the qualifying session, or even the practice session before qualifying, the car just didn't seem to feel right, didn't handle right. So I came into qualifying a little bit frustrated, hence the 2-lap run here, to try and get a little bit more temperature in the tyres and get a bit more of a feel for the car. We're going through sector 1 there, and actually a 10th down on, or about to go through the sector 1, and I'm actually a 10th down on the previous lap, which is a little frustrating. Like I say, the car's not quite feeling right for me here today. What I've noticed in the Formula Sim racing car is if your setup's not right or you're not confident with it, you're not going to be quick. But anyway, Suzuka, love this track. It is one of my favourites. There's only one corner on it I don't like, that's the hairpin. Hate that corner. But Spoon here is a fantastic double apex corner. But a tricky one as well. You get too aggressive on the power here, you can easily end up in a barrier on the left hand side. But as we make our way now down towards the R130, a corner that has become difficult in these particular cars, and I'm now a 10th up on my sector 2 time from the previous lap, so about balanced out. With the R130 in race mode, not always flat out, gone a little bit wide there into the final chicane. That's cost a little bit of time. However, I am going to cross the line with a 133.633 I was a couple of attempts up in the final sector, although it should have been a good half a second up. I'm very frustrated with that particular lap as well, getting nowhere near personal best. I think I positioned myself 9th here at this moment in time. However, I do actually end up qualified in 12th place as other drivers go a little bit quicker. So, on to the race then for Suzuka, and this is where things got really weird. Because, as you'll see, I'm lining up on the grid, and I'm in 24th place. I qualified 12th, but as I said, there was a few, the car didn't feel right, my steering wheel didn't feel right, so I reloaded the game after qualifying in the warm-up session. I was back in plenty of time for the start of the race. However, when we lined up on the grid, instead of being in 12th place, it was probably 24th place. And at this moment in time, I'm swearing so much, it's unbelievable. I'm absolutely fuming, and I'm thinking, well, I can't type and drive. I can't send a message to the race director to sort of say I'm in the wrong position. You'll see here, I go really slow because I'm thinking, what the bloody hell am I going to do? I shouldn't be in this position. And I was going absolutely balmy, proper going off on one. The car's not handling right, the steering doesn't feel right, I've reloaded the game to fix it and it's still not feeling right, and now I've got to start in 24th place, and 23rd place isn't even starting from the grid, they're going to be starting from the pit lane. DeWald now though, he starts on pole position, one of the championship contenders, and obviously one of the OFR teammates. George Winter is in 2nd place. In 3rd place we've got Felipe Dero, another title contender, and right behind him is David Cook, the championship leader at this moment in time. 5th place we've got Haris Parvez, quite a quick driver, is showing to be. Then we've got Eugene van Loggerenberg, and keep an eye out for that name, we'll see it a few times in the race. His teammate, or one of his teammates, Jordi Lopez, followed by Cameron Roger, and then Jonathan Etier in 9th place. In 10th we've got Felix van Delft, we know about him, we'll see him again today. And then behind him is Gerlof de Vries, Juan Sanchez, Johan Reig, Christopher Raby, Mark Hutchinson, Will Barnes, Mihailo Vicentovic, Pascal Chapon, Christopher Cobb, who's moved up from AMA, and then Matthew Toussaint, who also moved up, and Jared van der Wiede. Then we've got Corey Hudson, and then Dmitry Zarhov started from the pits, and myself. And it was only at about this point that I realised, you know what, I should have just stopped, pressed escape, then typed a message to the race director to say, I'm starting at the wrong position. And they would have sorted it out. But by this point I thought, you know what, I won't disrupt the start, everyone's ready, I'll just let it go. We're on for a 40 lap race here with medium tyres, the white marks being the option, hard tyres being the prime, and one very frustrated OFR driver starting in 24th place. Even though I was frustrated though, I decided to be very cautious at the start, and I don't even bother attacking. I take it so carefully down into turn 1, thinking to myself, seeing all that smoke, there's going to be cars out of this race by the time I get to turn 2. And by the time I get to turn 2, nobody is. So I quickly make a sneaky overtake into turn 2, and now we end up going very slow. This is so off pace, it was unbelievable. But a few of the guys at the back of the grid here, not fully up to speed yet, as one of the ACR drivers has a little bit of us. So there's 2 places. But yeah, the guys at the back here not quite fully up to speed yet, so they're taking it easy. And for myself, it's like, come on, speed up, which they do eventually do. But I want to be a little bit careful here. I don't want to end up damaging wings or tyres or anything like that. I'm stuck in a situation, so I'll just deal with it and see how we get on. A few cars having a few difficulties at the hairpin there, so we'll take another place if we can on another ACR driver. Not sure exactly which one that is. That might be Christopher Cobb, although it could also be Eugene van Loggerenberg, which if it is, he's lost a lot of places as another ACR driver tries pushing around the outside. And now heading out of Spoon, a brilliant corner down the long straight. and watching the car ahead having a look at an overtake, and going side by side into the R130 means I'm going to have to back off early, be very cautious here, and it pays dividends because I can now have a sneaky look at the inside. But can I get the move done? No, I can't. The sound of cars hitting barriers, or cars hitting cars there. So by the end of lap 1, gained a couple of places. However, I'm now kind of under attack as we got 2 wide up ahead. I'm going to make it 3 wide. This could get interesting. I managed to gain 1 place, but the ACR driver ahead, he also gained a place, but that's up now into 19th place. So a slow first lap, but still managed to gain a few positions. And it is Eugene van Logrenberg behind me, actually. So he has had problems at the start of the race, so he's massively out of position. I think he qualified 7th, but I've got a good run here now, but decide to back out of it to the Degners. It's not really an overtake in place. The hairpin coming up though potentially is, but can end in disaster if we go for it. Now, as I said at the start, the car wasn't feeling right for this race, wasn't feeling right at all, and it did make the race very difficult. You'll see that cars are pulling away from me out of traction zones, and that's all to do with how unbalanced and ugly the car feels going into corners. Makes the exits much slower. So for quite a long period of time in this race, as Eugene now trying to have a look at the inside, getting very close to my rear wheel there. I think he might have even given it a little bit of a nudge and backs out of the move. Cars ahead running a little bit wide. I think that's Pascal Chapon on the right hand side there. So as I'm trying to sort of size up the cars ahead of me, oh, he's gone flying a little bit. I'll take that position, thank you very much. I was about to say, yes, I'm sizing up the cars ahead of me. I'm kind of under attack, and there's a spinner in the background. I think that might be Matthew Toussaint, as Eugene now having a look up the inside into turn 1. Not quite worked for him though, as I managed to hold the speed around the outside of turn 2. Yeah, as I was saying, with the car feeling the way it did make this race very difficult. And not only that, tyre wear around this circuit was quite punishing. And with the front end lacking a bit of grip, it did increase my front tyre wear. So I am taking it very cautiously at this moment in time, just to make sure I get the stint lengths that I want as cars ahead. Pascal Chapon looking to try to make a move, but can't quite get it done. Yeah, I'm looking after the tyres, because strategy here is very important as Chapon, and I think it might be Adam Osger, gets side by side, and that's putting me under pressure now from Eugene van Logrenberg, because I haven't really got anywhere to go, but I'll try going for a move up the inside on Osger. I've managed to do that, and that's left him hanging out to dry a little bit, and Eugene's going to follow me through there as I now try and get into the slipstream of Pascal ahead. But Eugene is closer to me than I am to the car ahead of me. Yeah, strategy, one stop potentially available here, depending on how your car's handling and how your tyre wear is. 40 lap race, looking, if you can do 25 laps on the prime tyre, then it leaves you a longish stint on the mediums. Obviously start on the mediums, but that's the way it works out. 15-25, it's doable. We'll see, you'll have to wait and see to what I go for, as I'm gaining on Pascal Chapon. Have a look up the inside. It's a bit of a apply pressure while also a little bit of defending. So on to lap 4 then, and Eugene van Logrenberg's really starting to try and apply some pressure to me, which he's doing quite well to do, to be honest. He must have a good front end on that car, because as soon as I got anywhere near a driver during this race, my front end grip was just absolutely diabolical. More work on setup required. But that's where my looking after the tyres will hopefully pay dividends later on, as Eugene gets really close to me, and Pascal Chapon trying to open up the gap as we head up towards Spoon. Eugene's got a good run on me here as I defend him off quite nicely. And Spoon can be an overtake in place as long as you're nice and close and up the inside early. Going around the outside, not so easy to do. However, it is better to try and overtake towards the R130 or wait for turn 1. But Eugene, he's having a look to the R130 up the inside, but it's not a move that's available for him. So I managed to fend him off for a moment as we head into the Casio triangle. He's got really, really close again, but now that gap has opened up a little bit. DRS is now available, so he may be able to close in again as we head down to turn 1. He's too far back to go for the move. Yeah, not on the cards on this occasion. Oh, we've got a car off in the background, so that's another free position. We'll take that, thank you very much. So that's up to 16th place. So not too bad then. Started 24th, gained a few free positions. However, I would have much preferred to have started 12th and tried to apply some pressure. Now you'll see some black tyre marks coming out of the back of the car here as I'm really pushing now to try and pull away from Eugene. And the tactic looks like it's working, and I'm also now beginning to pull in Pascal Chapon a little bit. We're on lap 5, so looking at trying to get another 10 laps out of these tyres. So can't really afford to abuse them too much. You'll notice as well that I've left the information bars at the top and the bottom of the screen that shows position that I'm in, also lap times and what lap I'm on. I was wanting to use the FSR overlay that's used in the races, but unfortunately they don't work on replays, and which is really frustrating, but at the same time understandable. Well, I have really now closed that gap in on Pascal Chapon. That'll give me an opportunity for DRS, but a little twitch in the Casio triangle puts me under pressure. We've got Eugene behind me, he'll have DRS, I've got DRS. So he's gaining on me, I'm gaining on Pascal as we head down to turn 1. I can't turn in too much because Eugene is there, and Eugene's nudged the rear, and that's it. Both of us sent slightly spinning around. A little bit frustrating that, but fair play to him. He does back off and let me through, but that's 2 positions lost. Have a look at the replay here. Give him a bit of room on the apex, a little bit of understeer for him, nudges the rear wheel, that's it. Both of us on the grass. Thankfully no damage and no real major time lost, but as I said, he does let me through and we're able to continue on, but obviously now a couple of positions lower than we were before. Obviously Eugene, he'll have been frustrated from whatever happened at the start of the race for him. Qualifying in 7th place and now running in 18th place, so he won't be very happy, but a bit of a gap to the car ahead, which does mean I've got a little bit of clean air now, but I've also got to be careful of how the tyres have reacted to the half spin. I mean, these tyres, they do not like getting overheated. They're absolutely awful when they're overheated, to be honest. With Eugene, though, he's absolutely gunning it, but it's cost him a bit through Spoon as he runs wide, and that gives me a little bit of a breather as we've got another car off into the gravel. So that's another free position, so back up to 16th place we go. Yeah, I mean, driving around this circuit in clean air is very, very different compared to driving around in dirty air. The dirty air is absolutely awful. I mean, Sector 1 actually isn't too bad because it's not massively high-speed corners, but it's still very, very tricky. You can see there the gap to the cars in the car in 15th place, and Eugene getting very, very close again. And kind of in a situation now as well where it's like, well, if he pressures much more, that's fine, a little more, that's fine. But what I don't want to do, I don't want to end up in a situation where I'm pushing my tyres too hard to stay ahead. Because if that happens, then my strategy could potentially go out the window. Because I am looking at trying to do a one-stop strategy. However, it is really, really on the limit of tyre wear. I mean, effectively, if I can't get to lap 15 on the medium compound tyre, I'm going to struggle to do a one-stop. Quick look at Felix van Delft here in 14th place. He's now fighting with Pascal Chapon, does a nice move around the R200, gains him a position. I said to keep an eye on him later on. So Pascal Chapon now the car ahead of me, and by the looks of it we've gained another position because Pascal is in 14th place, which means I'm now in 15th place. So Pascal been giving it a really good go here in Suzuka, as I run massively wide on the R130, and that allows Eugene to go through, and that's kind of what I was on about, where if I'm pushing too hard and the tyres can't take it, then being in that battle is not a situation that's going to benefit me. So I'll let him go, he can push on, he can kill his tyres, and maybe we'll see him a little later on in this race. It's on to lap 8 then, and just over halfway through this particular stint, and I'm still frustrated about what happened at the start. I haven't let that go yet. And although it might look like the car's handling okay, it didn't feel like it was handling okay at all. The visuals that you'll see, I mean, I wouldn't say that they're not representative at all of what it's like to drive the car, but the feel of what the car is doing is a major factor. Or should I say it's a major R factor too. But yeah, so I mean, coming into corners like Spoon, I'm not hitting the apex anywhere near as much as I would like. The front end grip just does not seem to be there for me, and not only that, because I'm having to, I don't want to steer more to get into the corner more, that will damage the front tyres, but also the rear end is feeling very frisky, which means if I do steer more, there's more of a chance of the rear end just completely spinning out, and that is something that I don't want to do. Quite simply, I've had enough of that this season. Eugene's trying to apply pressure to Pascal Chapon ahead. He's not been able to get past him yet, but as they battle, this may help me close in a little bit, and it does into turn 1. You can see how much time Eugene has lost there, stuck behind Chapon, as I'm now right behind him. But yeah, I mean, one of the key features for me throughout this race was just the poor handling of the car. I mean, in all of the practice sessions I did, working on the setup, finalising the setup, and doing lots of laps on the setup, as we've got another car off, but that was someone that was a lap down. Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of laps on this setup, and I actually came into this really confident of a fantastic result. So to get to the track and have it feel like, I don't know, I was driving on ice for most of the race, it just very annoying, very frustrating. So lap 9 now then, and the dirty air's had its effect. I've dropped off a little bit, and that's another thing about this track and even these cars. Sometimes it's better to leave a little bit of a gap than be right up the gearbox with someone. But Eugene up ahead, he's decided to go for the move, and he's already ahead into the 130R or the R130. But you'll see there, I'm struggling around the R130, and that was one of the things that really played on my mind throughout this race. Through all of my practice, clean air, dirty air, I was comfortably going through the R130 in 8th gear, on odd occasions needing a tiny little lift, but throughout this race the car did not feel stable through there at all whatsoever, which was costing me a considerable amount of lap time, and as I've mentioned on previous videos, if you lack confidence in the car, you can't go quick. It's a simple equation, because if you fear taking a corner flat out because the car feels like it's going to spin, then you're not going to take it flat out. And some of you might think, well, just take it flat out, Dave, see what happens. Trust me, I know what happens. Excuse me. I've had enough experience in these cars to know what happens. I mean, you look at what happened in my Singapore race when I was going for a fastest lap. You just go to push for an extra tenth, and yeah, you can easily end up in the barrier. But yeah, some setup work to be done for future races, and there's not many of them left. Next up is Malaysia, which, while I'm doing the voiceover on this, we have already actually raced, but I will get round to doing the video as soon as I can. Now you see there a nice big lift through the R130, a bigger lift than I would normally want to do, although I've still managed to catch up a bit here to Chapon. With DRS here, I may be able to have a look at making a move down into turn 1. Yep, much higher top speed with the DRS over the inside through turn 1. Avoid the exit curb on turn 1 there, because that curb is awful. If you get on that exit curb, in many ways you're better off going all the way over it rather than straddling it. It's a curb that if you get on it, you can easily find yourself into the barriers up ahead. And now I've got a little bit of clean air ahead of me. This is going to now give me a different feel on the car. Obviously I'm going to have a little bit more front end grip. It's going to allow me to go a little bit quicker, but at the same time, and while I'm driving around, I think, okay, I've had dirty air, maybe that's why the car's not handling too good, but now I've got this little bit of a gap and I've got the extra front end grip. I'm still feeling, okay, this isn't quite right, there's something not quite right on this setup. And I'm also now thinking, okay, strategy wise, when I put the prime tyre on, how's the car going to handle then? I mean, in Singapore, the hard compound tyre was absolutely awful. But here in Suzuka, the setup that I was using, a lot of the practice I'd done was aimed at being able to use the hard compound tyre, because it can take quite a lot of punishment. As long as the setup is right, you can really drive it. So I did work on that quite a lot. So I'm now in a bit of a quandary. And for anyone who doesn't know what that means, I haven't got a clue what I'm going to do, because I'm thinking, okay, the hard compound tyre is going to behave the same way as these option tyres. Is it going to feel like the car's not got the grip, or is it just on the medium tyres that I'm going to have this particular sensation? I'm going to have to think about what I'll do on the strategy if the car does feel how it should, or if the car doesn't feel how it should. Well, I've now got Will Barnes ahead of me, as Eugene's recently managed to get past him. Well, I'm back now into sort of dirty air zone. As Barnes runs a little bit deep at the hairpin there. Well, one of the things I've mentioned in many of my early videos was about some of the spins I was having in the early part of the season, locking front brakes or rear brakes, and I was mentioning at the time about it's something that I would work on, and also trying to avoid lockups. You may notice on my recent videos, very limited amount of lockups, as I'm getting really close to Barnes, but run a little bit too wide through the R130. That's got a little bit treacherous, but still managed to close the gap in. But now Felix van Delft and Will Barnes, they're both going to head into the pit. So that's what, end of lap 12. So either their tyres or their strategy bringing them into the pits, which means that they're potentially going to get an overcut on myself. However, I've been looking after these tyres and I'm quite happy to continue going on them for some time. I mean, my target lap is 15 at the earliest. So we'll keep going and see how we get on. But I've now got Eugene van Logerenberg ahead of me again, and considering that he passed me some time ago and he was pushing quite hard, you'll notice that he's not that far ahead. Okay, yes, he did have quite a bit of traffic to contend with, but this is what I was on about. Sometimes it could be better to just back off a little bit, look after your tyres, and let the race come to you, as he's now struggling. Big sideways moment on the exit of the hairpin. That's going to have cost him a little bit of time, and that's got me thinking, okay, perhaps his tyres are going off, because if they are, that's good for me, because mine aren't going off yet. Now I could at this point think, okay, you know what, I'll pit, I'll cover off the undercut, but I don't really want to do that. If I pit now, then the one-stop strategy is out the window. Doing 27, 28 laps on the hard tyre, not within my tyre wear range. 25, that's about the limit. But Eugene, he decides that he is going to cover them off, so into the pits he goes. And now I've got perfectly beautiful clean air excuse me, for the first time since the start of this race. And actually, when it comes to the lap time, this is my fastest lap of the race so far, and it's not a particularly fast lap, I'll be honest with you. It's still slower than my practiced lap times. I mean, you may just see here that the car's looking lazy, and I'm not aggressive on the throttle out of the corners. The car's just not really getting to the parts of the track that I want. I mean, it's drivable, it's raceable, but it is very, very tricky, which, I mean, it's frustrating, really frustrating. I mean, I don't want to moan too much, but I mean, you spend a couple of weeks working on setups, getting to a good setup, putting loads of laps and practice on that, to then on race day you get onto the practice server and qualifying and the race, and the car handles like a setup you've never used. It's very frustrating. It basically means I'm on the fly learning how to drive on this particular setup, trying to find out what it's capable of doing. So through the Casio triangle then to complete what is so far my fastest lap of the race, and you'll see that I do not pit, I do continue on. I mean, it was a good lap, there was a good lap time, and I must admit, I'm thinking at this point, okay, maybe I'm not going to get overcut too much. I am going effectively 3 laps longer than was it Felix van Delft and Will Barnes. However, the overcut might not be too bad with my tyres still being in working range. I mean, obviously if they've gone to brand new mediums, they'll effectively be a lot quicker. If they're on brand new hards, then their gain would be limited. But we'll have to wait and see for a little while what tyres they are on. So I am now on the 15th lap of the race, currently sitting in 7th place, but obviously I've not stopped yet. Have a quick look at a couple of the cars ahead of us there. Flick through Jordi Lopez. He's having a battle with Cameron Roger. And David Cook, he's into the pits, as well as Felipe Giro. And De Waldenel, George Winter takes over the lead of the race. De Waldenel is the effective leader of the race, though. I think Felipe Giro may have just missed his pit box as well. But as you see there, I've got quite a train of cars behind me now, so time for me to get out of the way, get a brand new set of tyres on. So at this point I know if I go for one more lap, there isn't enough tyre life to have another good lap. So into the pits we go. We're going to put on the hard compound tyre. Drop the front wing a little bit, because if I don't, the rear end of the car will just spin out on me all day long. So back out onto the track, and that looks like that's Eugene van Logrenberg and Felix van Delft that have passed me. So I'm going to rejoin the track in 15th place, and Will Barnes coming down the start finish. So got a bit of a gap to him. Now at this point I will say straight away I'm thinking, okay, I'm not quite liking how these tyres are feeling. They're brand new and they should feel a little bit better than the mediums that I've just got rid of, and they don't. Okay, they need to warm up a little bit, they need to get the pressure into them, they need to get the temperatures up, but you usually get a feel for the tyre pretty much straight away. And around this track it doesn't take that long for the tyres to really start coming in. But it's things like in the braking zones, and as initial turning of the car and how the car feels applying the throttle. It will give those signals of whether the car is feeling good, feeling bad. Well, I shouldn't say whether the car is, whether the setup is feeling good or not. So now I'm in a situation where there's a bit of a gap to the cars ahead. I don't mind that too much because I'd rather have clean air than a car right in front of me. And also, with when the cars ahead pitted, they're on a two-stop strategy. So I'm at this situation now thinking, okay, let's work out within the next lap or two whether I'm going to go with a one-stop strategy or go with a two-stop, because which way I take the strategy will depend on which way I drive the car. As I head into turn one here, I got straddled on the exit curb there, and a good example of what I mentioned earlier on. Mate, you get on that curb and straddling it, not a good idea, because you're just going to go straight on. So that's cost me a little bit more time, and Will Barnes will catch me up a little bit there. But yeah, I mean, if I do stick with a one-stop strategy, I've kind of got to look after these tyres. If I decide to switch to a two-stop strategy, then I can really punish these tyres and see if punishing them, like pushing them that little bit harder, will perhaps make the setup feel like it handles that little bit better. So lap 17 then, and cars ahead of me. Felix van Delft, I believe he's running the medium compound tyre at the moment, while Eugene van Logerenberg is running the hard compound tyre. Yep, Felix is on at the medium, so I'd expect to lose a little bit of time to him, and Eugene is on at the hard compound tyre. So I'll leave Felix to try and catch up to Eugene, and there's about a 4 or 5 second gap between myself and Felix. So at this moment in time I'm thinking, okay, let's try and keep that gap down to a minimum, but he's definitely got to make another pit stop, so don't worry too much yet. But now that I have done a couple of laps on these tyres, I am already thinking, okay, I don't like how they're handling. In many ways I would like to whack on a lot more front wing, but given the nature of these cars, if you have your front wing just one notch too high, it makes the rear end of the car on the prime tyres, on hard tyres, can't handle it, can't cope with the level of turning on the front end, and effectively you just so much oversteer, you spin out everywhere. But as you'll see, I'm missing apexes all over the place, and there's absolutely nothing I can do at this time to try and get more grip into the front end of the car. So around this point I decided, right, let's go for the two-stop strategy. I'd rather be on the medium tyres than on these hard tyres. So I'm going to try and push these primes as hard as I can without just absolutely destroying them, killing them, or ruining my own race. But I am going to try and push quite hard and be very aggressive on them. And obviously I've already done 15 laps on the medium compound tyre, so that's effectively my aim for the two-stop strategy. I use the medium tyre for only 10 laps, get rid of them, up that front wing a bit for the medium tyre, and absolutely gun it for the last 15 laps of the race. You can visually see what the gap is there between myself and Felix, and considering that we've both got another pit stop to do, that's not a bad gap at this moment in time. Because now that I know I'm going for the two-stop strategy, I will be going for the faster tyre later on. So on to lap 19 then. I think we're on lap 19, it's difficult for me to see the thing there. Yes, it is lap 19, and I'm really not liking these hard compound tyres. The decision for me to go to a two-stop here was a simple one to make in the end, simply because of how the car was feeling. I mean, with a lighter fuel I'm doing slightly quicker lap times, but I'm just not happy with how the car's handling on these particular tyres, and it's not worth the risk. I'd rather be on the medium tyres where the car still doesn't feel great, but it feels better than what I'm on at the moment. And I mentioned that the R130 was a corner that I struggled with a lot throughout this race, and this was another factor for going for the two-stop strategy. This particular corner, big lift, and the car's, it's just all the way through that corner just feeling like it's going to spin out, and okay, it might look like it's not, but trust me folks, I did enough practice to know the feeling of when it's going to spin out and when it's not, and it was always on that edge, on the limit. We were right on board, I don't know how long for. I mean, into turn 1 and turn 2 it actually wasn't too bad, but then it just wasn't particularly great after that. Yeah, turn 4 struggling a little bit, turn 5 too much apex curb, wants to pull the front end in and lose the rear end, and here the front tyres really suffer. I mean, in my practice I was flat out through Dunlop curve and just wasn't able to do it. Degners, quite a lack of confidence on the tyres through there, missing the apex of the second Degner. All of this just adding to the frustration. Now I must admit, the hairpin is the corner I don't like on this track. It is my most hated corner on this track. But this is how odd the setup was. That was probably the one corner where throughout the whole of the race the car felt okay. Everywhere else it was a right tricky beast. So heading down to the R130 again, we'll see how we get on with it on this occasion. I've even dropped it down a gear. Now you might sit there thinking, why you done that? You don't need to. It was the feel in the wheel. This is what I was mentioning earlier on about visually everything might look normal and fine, but it's the feel on the wheel that I can't sort of show to everyone. But what I can show you is Felix van Delft, the car ahead of me, 14th, with 4 cars ahead of him. So this is effectively what I'm fighting but not fighting at the moment. I'm trying to catch up to Felix van Delft, or stay within range of him, and he's got 4 cars ahead of him absolutely going for it. But this is all playing into my hands, to be honest. Yeah, I mean the R130 with dirty air dropping a gear, can understand that. If you're doing it when you're on your own, there's a problem. So these guys, oh, there's a crash, there's a crash. I think that might be Eugene van Logrenberg. It is Eugene van Logrenberg and Dmitry Zarahov. Let's have a look at the replay on that. Oh, Eugene runs into the back of him. Thankfully no rear wing damage. Maybe a bit of suspension damage there. Well, that's allowed me to really catch up, because that's Eugene ahead of me now. Which so he's lost quite a lot of time. He's given the position back to Zarahov by the looks of it, but that has allowed me to catch up. But what that also has done is it's freed up Felix van Delft a little bit, which I could have done without. He needed it, but I didn't. So feeling a little more confident on the brakes on these tyres now as Zarahov pits. I would guess that's potentially for repairing a little bit of damage. It looks like Felix van Delft is going for a move up ahead. Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned on previous lap, turn 1 and 2, car feeling alright, and then after that it was very much a handful. I mean, with some of the tracks we've got coming up towards the end of the season, we've got Malaysia, Circuit of the Americas and Brazil. They're the 3 races after these, and they're 3 tracks that if I have a similar technical issue that I've had here, they're going to be an absolute nightmare, so try and avoid that one if we can. But currently sitting 14th place here in the Formula Sim Racing Pro Division Round 13 at Suzuka. Eugene van Logrenberg just ahead of me, and then I think that's Jon Reid possibly just ahead of him. Now up at the front, I do know that my OFR teammates, they were looking at the one-stop strategies here at Suzuka, and if I remember rightly, looking to stick to that. Obviously, I'm aware that I'm already planning to switch my strategy up as we pass back marker there. Let's see how we get on through the R130 this time. Nice big lift. That's just to make sure the rear end's not stepping out too much. And within DRS range, but I say through those final corners, when I was pressing the throttle, it did all too often feel like the rear end was just going to step out on me. I mean, I think the big story about this race is just simply having a complete lack of front end grip. And if you sat there thinking, I can't see what you complained about, Dave, then it just goes to show how hard I was working to try and get around this particular track. I mean, this was probably, I would say this was my most frustrating race of the season. Even given what happened in Singapore and a ridiculous DNF in Spain where my screen minimised, this was the more frustrating. I mean, technical issues like screen minimising and you ended up in a barrier, not a lot you can do about that. But when it's setup related, car related, going from practice to the race, that's a whole different ball game when it comes to what happened and analysing the race and trying to work out what went wrong. Because I mean, all the way through this race and even after it I spend a lot of time baffled trying to work out what was different. Now, one of the things that I did find out that obviously was different was the air temperature. The air temperature was a lot lower. I won't say a lot, but I think it was about 10 degrees lower here in Suzuka than what I've been practicing on. Quite a few people had said that the air temperature doesn't make a difference on grip. Maybe it doesn't, but when I was analysing this event, that was sort of the only thing that was different from my practice sessions. But anyway, on to lap 24. Now in 13th place. I'm still close to Eugene and Johan Ray, but not close enough to attack, and still suffering with the lack of front end. I mean, on my notes here, I simply wrote front end no like, because that's pretty much sums it up really. So this prime time stint now though, it's a bit of a painful one really, because it's literally a case of right, just keep going, deal with the pain, because when we get to lap 26 or 25, we can get rid of these tyres and we can see if we can begin to enjoy this race. A race that really, I was looking for a top 5 finish in this race, to be honest. Even qualifying 12th, I was still confident of potentially a top 5 finish. Well, I say I was confident before entering the event, as Eugene goes for a move, getting side by side with Johan Ray. It's not worked for him. I'll let them battle and destroy their tyres. Yeah, before the event, confident of the top 5 finish. As soon as the event started, not confident of finishing. That's pretty much how it was. Okay, so we're on the 25th lap now, and this battle ahead is allowing me to well, it's helping me stay within touching distance really. The only thing I don't know is how far ahead. Well, I don't know at this time. I knew on the day. Excuse me. But just how far ahead Felix van Delft is, because obviously he's someone that I'm still potentially having a battle with, but he should have had quite a bit of clean air now, and potentially opened up the gap quite a lot. And as you see, I've lost a lot of time on this particular lap through that second sector. So as we head up then to the R130, and another little lift, and the rear end's trying to step out on me. I think we've got a car off track on the right. Yes, we have. That could be Mark Hutchinson, or it could be a back marker, but in the pits I go. So now I'm thinking, okay, I can undercut the two cars ahead of me. They both, I believe, or at least one of them has to pit again. So I'm going to go for the medium compound tyre, see where we come back out on track. But if Eugene has to pit again, I'll be getting an undercut on him, and now I can try and focus on, alright, let's push it, let's see what we got, let's see if we can gain any places. And actually Felix van Delft, he has already made his second stop, and he is just ahead of me. Surprisingly, only just ahead of me as well. I'm not sure exactly when he pitted, but he's now on the hard compound tyres. So either I was doing well on those hard tyres but didn't realise it, or his second medium stint was very, very compromised. But now, with me being on the medium compound tyre and him being on the hard compound tyre, this should be a battle that should close up quite quickly. But as we've seen when we was just watching Eugene, it's not that easy to overtake around Suzuka. However, this is the best situation you can ask for, other than if Felix was on absolutely knackered tyres. That would be better for me. It wouldn't be for him, but it would be better for me. With a medium compound tyre now, I should be able to maximise the grip, maximise the benefit. The car's still not handling brilliantly, but it's handling better than it was on the hard compound tyre. So take a lap or so just to get a feel of how the car's handling, and also an idea of or re-acclimatise myself with the R130, the dirty air from the car ahead, and also analyse, look, try and pick out where it is that I'm going to be gaining the time, because in many respects there's no point gaining on someone into turn one and then being stuck right up behind them through the whole of the first sector. You kind of got to maximise where you are quicker. So in many respects it's better to be faster excuse me, through the R130, but obviously some of that may come from closing up through the first sector. Testing the grip around Dunlop there as Felix is pushing quite hard with a tyre smoke through the Degners. Now for Felix as well, I mean, this is his first stint on the hard tyres, so it's his turn to get a feel for how these tyres are going to cope for him. So this is a bit of a tricky situation, because I don't want to be stuck behind Felix for too long. If I can get ahead of him, there is half a chance of gaining on cars ahead, but also my undercut that I'm meant to be working on Eugene and Johan Reig isn't going to work if I'm stuck here. So I need to get a shift on, but I've ran a little bit deep into the chicane there. That's going to compromise my speed through the corner, which is going to compromise my opportunity to attack down into turn one, because that's what I was planning on doing, but going deep in the chicane has ruined any chance of giving it a go down into turn one. So I'm now effectively stuck behind Felix for another lap, unless I can get him massively out of position on track, but he's too much of an accomplished driver to do that. Now that I've said that, we'll probably see him run wide somewhere, or we can hope. But no, I mean, me and Felix have a little bit like myself and David O'Reilly in the early stages of the season, sort of constantly finding ourselves on track near each other. I mean, over a few of the last races, it's been because we've both been involved in incidents early on that have ended up with us both fighting back from sort of the back of the pack, which has made it quite interesting. But this was, I mean, actually, I'm not sure if anything happened to him at the start of the race, but well, obviously it did for me. But this is a sort of legitimate, so to speak, battle. rather than a battle where we've both had damage or been taken out and we're having to recover. So on lap 28 then, I'm gaining on him, heading up to the R130, but not gaining enough to attack. With Felix though, he's spun at the chicane and I've had a bit of a sympathy spin with him. That's a little bit unfortunate. See, there we go. I say he's an accomplished driver and he goes and spins it in the chicane. Quick look at the replay on that one. And as I'm approaching, braking normally, all of a sudden see his car sideways and that's it. Around I go as well. Not a lot either of us could do there. It's unfortunate Felix locking up his rear brakes. But it did mean that another attempt or chance has gone of attacking down into turn 1. So I've got another lap stuck behind him, and while I am stuck behind, I must admit I'm killing my tyres, as Pascal Chapon is the car behind us, a few corners behind as well. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of hurting my tyres quite a bit, being stuck behind him. I mean, my lap times, they've not been too bad so far. However, lap time is being massively compromised by being in the dirty air. And if I am able to get past, we would see well, I'd like to think we'd see me open up the gap. There have been a lot of discussions in FSR towards the end of this season about one of the big problems with this particular car isn't the car itself, it's the tyres, and I think many would agree with that. I mean, the car itself isn't that bad to drive, the sound could be perhaps a little bit better, but the tyres, oh yeah, they're not particularly great. As I run wide on the R130, that's not going to help my chances of attempting an overtake. That's the difficulty with the R130 in the final chicane. You want to be close in the final chicane, but to do that you've got to be close to the R130, and to do that you've got to be able to keep it on the bloody road. So another opportunity to attempt a pass gone, which is a little frustrating. So on to lap 30 then, and obviously, I mean, I've been stuck behind now for 4 laps, which probably wouldn't be too bad if it weren't for the fact that it also happened in my front row race in Season 6 Japan race, and I was stuck behind Dan Evs on the final stint. Similar situation to this. He was on worn hard tyres or worn prime tyres, and I was on brand new options, and it's just so tricky to get close enough to get the situation to attack and to pass, but we won't give up yet. But while all this is going on, obviously I've been keeping an eye on the timing gap to the cars ahead of Felix, and trying to keep an eye on whether we're going to be able to gain on them, and my opportunity to gain on them really has kind of gone out the window a little bit. You can see here I'm much quicker through the corners when the car's able to cope with it, but the exit of corners, the grip just is not there. We've got a good run on him here now though. DRS wide open, this is an opportunity. So around the outside we're going to go. This is similar to with Eugene, and it's a similar outcome, although Felix has ended up spun around and I've managed to continue on. However, while I'm driving on, I'm thinking, I don't know if that was my fault or not. Oh dear. Right, you know what, I'm going to back off and I'm going to let him through, because if it was my fault, then backing off and letting him through, if I was protested, I shouldn't get a penalty for that. And if it's not my fault, then if in future a collision happens with me and Felix, you never know, he may return the favour. And so I've let Felix through, and it's one of those things, I'd rather pass legitimately than potential controversially, so we'll have a look at it. I did wonder if it was my fault, Let's have a look. Oh, I do turn in a little bit, as he may have got a little bit of understeer. Now, Felix did say to me after the race that he didn't think that it was my fault. So he was quite happy that I gave him the place back. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to overtake legitimately, not potentially controversially. Wait for Malaysia on that one. So I managed to get ahead, and I put myself behind him again. But in many ways, I'd rather have a good race, a fair race, than as a potential you only got past because we had contact. I'll tell you what, I'm close here though. Through the final chicane on this occasion, I've had a good run through the corners this time around. I'm actually closer than I was on the previous lap. So DRS wide open this time, going up the inside, too soon for Felix to defend, and got the move done into turn 1. That's what I prefer to have done. So now that I've got ahead, the question is, am I going to be able to open a gap, catch cars ahead? Well, to be honest, I'm not going to be able to catch cars ahead. Given the spin or the letting Felix back through there, yeah, I've got no chance really of gaining on the cars ahead. The opportunity of that has gone, but you can see already that I am opening the gap up on him, showing the difference of the clean air on the medium compound tyre compared to dirty air on the medium compound tyre. So faster laps should start coming in fairly soon. Now, interesting stat, I'm now in 12th place. So it's only taken me 32 laps to get to the position where I should have started. But it's been an interesting run getting up to this 12th place. Even if I mean, I'm still driving angry. I mean, I was fuming for about 3 hours after this race with what happened at the start. But anyway, on to lap 33 then. So we've got what, 8-9 laps to go. And in a moment I will have a quick look through the current running order. Now, I thought I may have seen Eugene van Logrenberg recently as well, but I haven't. De Wolde now leading the race. Looks like he's going to go on to win it. David Cook running in second place, so interesting title fight up at the front. Cameron Roger doing well in the third place at the moment. Felipe Dero, a bit of a bad pit stop. He's down in fourth place. He missed his pit box. Haris Parvez in fifth place. He's doing well. He's got Jordi Lopez in sixth, right up his gearbox, looking to gain some places. In seventh place, quite a way behind, we've got Christopher Raby. I think he's driving O'Reilly's car. And then right behind him, we've got George Winter. And then Herlof de Vries running in ninth place at the moment. In 10th place, we've got Mark Hutchinson, so it wasn't his yellow car I saw off the track earlier on. So Mark doing well to be up in 10th place. Jon Raid, though, he was near Eugene van Logrenberg earlier. He's running in 11th place. He's the car ahead of me. So he must be on the one-stop strategy. Yeah, he is. And obviously myself in at 12th place. Begs the question where Eugene van Logrenberg has gone to. But behind me is Felix van Delft. You can see how much of a gap I've opened up on him now. And behind Felix van Delft is Will Barnes, quite a gap back to him. In 15th place is Pascal Chapon, and he's got Jordi Lopez battling one of the leaders behind him, or ahead of him. Corey Hudson running in 16th place, he's got a leading car ahead of him as well. Matthew Toussaint running in at 17th place. So where's Eugene van Logrenberg then? There he is. He's in the pits. His race is over. So didn't see what happened to him, but unfortunately for Eugene, his race has come to a early end, which is not what he would have wanted. So now I've got plenty of clear track ahead. I can just focus on driving the car, trying to enjoy what's left of this particular race. I mean, I've had so many races this season of recovering from situations to try and get back into the points, and I've had some races that have gone really well, some races I've had a really good pace, and had I not had incidents I'd be fighting somewhere in the top sort of 5 or 6. And I think this was just another way of the game teaching me a lesson, sort of teaching me some punishment. I can only hope that towards the end of the season all the punishment comes with some really good rewards. I mean, I said early on in the season that this is a learning season for me with these cars. I mean, the cars will probably change for the next FSR season, but this is it's a learning season for me in many ways regarding the setups on the cars. I mean, obviously I'm from console racing originally, and the level of setups and the knowledge you need for working on the setups is something unimaginable on console. I mean, the closest to say get to it would be Project Cars, but yeah. So this season there's been a lot of learning, a lot of frustration, quite a few decent points as well though, but still haven't achieved all of the goals that I wanted to. So just coming to the end of lap 35, so I had a lap and a bit, or a few laps now, of clean air. I realise I'm fairly safe from behind. The gap up ahead is a little too big, so just enjoy ourselves and let's see what lap times we can do. Obviously low fuel now, which gives much more potential for faster lap times. I've quite often watched like real F1 or even other motorsports, and it's quite easy to sit there and go, oh, it doesn't sound like they're pushing much around the corners. It sounds like they could just drive that little bit faster. Looking at it as a sort of pure simpleton, really. But it's not until you can fully understand what the driver is feeling within the car, because it's one of those situations where if the car and tyres could handle being accelerating a little sooner, a little harder, you'd do it. The R130 still a little bit of an issue. I mean, at this phase of the race I would have expected to be able to be comfortable through the R130 absolutely flat out, but lap 36 lap time, 135.423, which is a fairly decent lap time, and a good couple of seconds quicker than the lap times being put in at the start of the race. So lap 37 then, and having done that slightly quicker lap, the tyres have taken a little bit of punishment. One thing I don't want to happen here is to have taken too much out of the tyres and not be able to actually get to the end of the race. I mean, that would be rather embarrassing to push the tyres really, really hard and then have them die on right at the end. But the medium compound tyre for me was definitely the better tyre in this race. Much more comfortable on them. However, two-stop strategy, not necessarily the quickest way around the Suzuka circuit. Sometimes you have to sacrifice potential optimum strategy. I struggle again with the R130 there. Yeah, sometimes you have to sacrifice potential optimum strategy for driver comfort on the tyres. The lap time there 35.745, and perhaps taking a little too much out of the tyres on the previous lap. And now heading into lap 38, and in a few moments I will have another look at the grid order. As we've got 2 laps left to go, or 1.5 for me. DeWald now, he's already on to the 39th lap of the race. He's leading with David Cook getting a little closer to him now in second place. In third we've got Cameron Roger, who's now under pressure from Jordi Lopez, I believe. So Jordi Lopez has managed to gain a couple of positions over the last 10 laps. As it was Felipe Giro in fourth, but it's not anymore. It's Jordi Lopez. So he's trying to get on the podium. Felipe Giro now in 5th place, with Harris Parvez in 6th, not too far behind him. George Winter sitting in 7th place. Christopher Raby, he's now in 8th. Herlof de Vries in 9th. Mark Hutchinson in 10th, and I believe all of those 10 did the one stop. In 11th is Jon Raig, he definitely was on the one stop, and then myself on the two-stop strategy, coming from the very back of the grid, sitting in 12th place at the moment. So on to lap 39 then, and what will be my fastest lap of the race. So even 2 laps to go. Yeah, it is 2 laps to go now. I got it wrong on the previous lap. It was 2.5 laps previously, now it's 2 laps. Yeah, even after sort of 12-13 laps on these tyres, I'm able to put in my fastest lap, which just goes to show how much more comfortable I was on this particular set of tyres, or even the set on the first stint. I mean, I think my 14th lap on my medium tyres on the first stint was my fastest lap in that stint by a good half a second. Part aided by clean air, but also the tyres, while they have the percentage of rubber left, did give quite a bit of grip even when the car didn't feel overly nice. We're through Spoon then, we're only going to get to go through Spoon one more time. And down to the R130, and I must admit, every time I went through the R130, I'm thinking, do not spin out. Do not spin out. Because that's the risk around this particular corner. You turn in too much, get on the power, you spin out. You don't turn in enough, you run wide, you spin out. Very, very high risk corner. Something that I think the Codemasters F1 games has lost in previous years. Hopefully F1 2016 will have brought that back. But yeah, lap 39, fastest lap for me there on a 1:35.224. Not quite the fastest lap of the race out of everybody, but it was 3rd fastest, which I can be quite pleased about, apart from the fact that I think the top 2 drivers on the fastest laps did their fastest laps on the one-stop strategy, so older tyres compared to mine. But anyway, on to the final lap of the race, and I'm just wondering if I can see Jon Raig ahead of me, which, if I can, I'd be perhaps a little bit frustrated, because if I hadn't slowed down for Felix, I may have been able to catch him. But I'm not that far from the end of the race now, which means that even if I do see him, there's going to be absolutely nothing I can do about it. So through Spoon for the final time, and I can't see him, so he's more than safe ahead of me. Oh, there we go, he is there. So he probably would have been catchable had I not had to, or had I not slowed down. But there you go. It's the way it goes sometimes. Race fair, race fun. See how you get on. Anyway, 40 laps complete, 12 positions gained, 12th place I finish. So potentially, well, a really frustrating event overall, and a lot of analysis I had to do after this race to really try and work out what the hell went wrong, going from my practice sessions to race day, because that difference in how the car handled is something I need to make sure doesn't happen again, because if it does, then I'm going to struggle, and well, rather than going backwards, I want to be going forwards. But anyway, that's just about it from Suzuka. I'll be doing the Malaysia round 14 video as soon as possible, and coming soon as well on the Formula Sim Racing YouTube channel will be round 15 at Circuit of the Americas. So far from YouTube. I've been Dave Palin. Thanks for watching.